So she must be spending a huge amount of time cleaning up her home. While I wait for the alcohol to take its toll on my body and numb me, I go through her DVD collection. She's got several rom-coms, which is to be expected, and also a variety of horror movies like Lost Highway, The Shining, Rosemary Baby, and It. Who would have guessed she'd have a dark side to her? Picking up the Lost Highway DVD, I place it in the player and lie down on the couch. Fortunately, the effect of alcohol blended with the intensity of the movie distracts me enough to push the memories of my mother to the back of my mind, and soon my eyelids feel heavy and I fall asleep. I'm vaguely aware of someone lingering around, but my head throbs with pain, and if my memory doesn't fail me, it's the aftermath of drinking half a bottle of wine way too quickly. I can't open my eyes just yet, but my ears quickly tune to the faint sounds around me. Slaps of bare feet across the hardwood floor, opening and closing of doors, water running, and low hums of a woman. That woman must be Julie, and she must be contemplating my unwelcome sleepover on her couch. I roll my head to the source of the noise and force my eyes open, only to see Julie biting an apple and wearing nothing but a towel wrapped around her body. She's not contemplating my sleepover. She's not aware of it at all, which is why she doesn't look bothered when she pushes the edges of the towel between her thighs to dry her intimate parts. Not much of her long, lean legs is left to the imagination as she thoroughly dries herself while taking big bites of her apple. And at one point, she even bends down to dry her toes, and I catch a quick glimpse of her butt cheeks, my eyes ready to jump out of their sockets. Holy heavens! The sight is disturbing but also extremely arousing. I should stop eye-fucking her and give her the privacy she thinks she has. As difficult as it feels, I force my eyes to close and pretend to be sleeping. A few minutes pass before I hear a shriek accompanied by a low, "Oh my God," and something drops on the floor, possibly the apple she's been holding. My heart races beneath my chest. She knows. She must have figured out I've been peeping. This is worse than $1 million lawsuit for sexual harassment. It's simply disrespectful to the woman who has stood by me no matter what. I should have asked Danny to wait by her door rather than trying to play her bodyguard and majorly failing at it. The only thing she wants protected is her dignity, and I'm stomping all over it with my dirty feet. I hear her leaving the living room for a few minutes, possibly to put on clothes, and then feel her coming back and hovering over me. This is my cue to open my eyes. I do my absolute best to assure her I've been sleeping the whole time. My eyelids open slowly. I glance around with an obvious look of disorientation. I even make sure to jerk when I move my eyes up to her face. "Julie, what are you doing here?" I ask with a loud yawn and sit up, rubbing my eyes. As far as I'm concerned, this is my condo, and the real question to be asked here is, what are you doing here? You fell asleep on the couch. I tried to wake you, but you wouldn't budge. Then I carried you to your bed. I couldn't leave because your door wouldn't lock, so I stayed. I can't help it. My eyes do a quick sweep of her body. She has a pink t-shirt and black yoga tights, which is a turn-off after catching her with just a towel. Oh. Her eyes dart around, her expression uncomfortable. There's a bed in the guest room. I didn't know. That's okay, though. The couch wasn't so bad. The tightening of the muscles around my neck speaks to the contrary, though. I stand and head toward the door. Since you're awake now, and you can lock your door, there's no need for me to stay any longer. No, you can't go out like this, looking like hell. Frat House will lose ratings if a producer catches you in that shape, doing the walk of shame. She motions with her chin toward my wrinkled suit. Hell, HMG shares will take a massive hit if any living soul with a phone notices you. Her words inflict panic inside me. A stinky, drunk prick who can't get enough of partying isn't the impression I want to give to the world. So, what now? Don't worry, I'll call Danny and ask him to bring clean clothes for you. You'll need a razor, too. She runs and quickly grabs her phone off the kitchen island. I chuckle a bit when I listen to her quick but precise orders to Danny about exactly which suit and shirt he should bring over. As she sets her phone back down on the kitchen island, she grins at me. All set. Go ahead and have a shower while I fix your breakfast. You have 2 back-to-back dates today, then we're heading to Scarlett's birthday party. Oh, that. I should pick up a gift for her. Don't worry, I got one for you when I was shopping for mine. You're a lifesaver. I know. Her gaze falls on the floor, her cheeks blushing a light shade of pink. I grin and head to the bathroom. You can use the fresh towels on the shelves. I'll lay your suit in the guest room for you, she yells after me. I take my time in the shower mainly to give Danny time to pick up my clothes so I won't walk around half naked, wrapped up in a towel. I don't think Julie would accept my indecency as happily as I took hers. That ass of hers, damn it. Not exactly the visualization I need of her. My cock hardens with the fresh images of Julie's body in my mind, the warm water caressing my skin only adding to the pleasure. I can't jerk off thinking of Julie. It's as gross as imagining Chloe, my sister, and that's a whole new level of assholedness I don't want to be labeled with, even though no one would know. Closing my eyes, I forced my thoughts towards my last couple of sexual escapades, Felicia and Penelope. The two would make a great team bed. Felicia sucking off, Penelope riding my face, while Lindsay and Mackenzie making out on the other side of the bed. Now that's an image that has my cock raging hard in a heartbeat. Covering the head, I start rubbing it in a tight hold. What I need is several women making out and competing to get me off. The taste of pussy, melodic sounds of a climaxing woman, cunts swollen and filled with my cum. Why in God's name would I want to give that up for some ungrateful woman whose only pleasure will come from spending my money and nagging me to no end? The image of Mackenzie slipping her fingers inside Lindsay does the trick and makes me jerk a hot load of cum into my palm. Breathless, I watch the water wash off my softening cock. After several times of soaping my body, I decide it's time to get out. With a towel safely wrapped around my hips, I head out of the bathroom, hurry into the guest bedroom down the hall, and smile with satisfaction when I see my clothes neatly laid out on the bed. Breakfast is ready, Julie calls out, the liveliness in her voice pushing a round of old memories of her in our house to the surface of my consciousness. She was always the one gathering us for breakfast. I wouldn't have actually gone down to the kitchen and confronted Michael's evil face if it hadn't been for the cheery conversation Julie provided. Hastily, I put on my boxers, dress pants, and shirt and stroll into the kitchen. Spinach-wrapped egg bites, I yell, widening my eyes to show my surprise and appreciation. You remember my favorite breakfast dish? Of course I remember. She fills the mugs with coffee and sets them beside the plates. It wasn't that long ago, was it? I try to count the years that must have passed since the days Julie lived with us. 16, 17, that's hell of a long time if you ask me. She makes a face and pulls up a chair. That's really long. Let's see if you still got it right. I cut a piece of egg with the fork and pop it in my mouth, unable to keep my eyes from rolling at the delectable bite. Ah, Julie. Are you trying to give me a heart attack? This food is to die for. I quickly sit on the chair and fork the rest of the entire egg and swallow it down. It's so tasty. It's better than an orgasm. Want some more? You have to ask? She puts 2 more wraps on my plate and watches me gobble them down in a matter of seconds. You're an animal. She shakes her head as she pushes the entire tray of eggs in front of me. This was my mother's favorite too. I know, she states with pride, evident in the tone of her voice. I saw that you keep a picture of her in your bedroom. She'll always have a place in my life. My lips curl into a pained smile. a lump forming in my throat. Speaking in the past isn't easy and hurts every time. It cuts deep to remember those violent days, the suicide of my mother, the abuse my siblings and I endured at Michael's hands, and the helplessness to do anything about it. Even Julie herself had her share of trauma from Michael. When she first came into our home, she had practically been abandoned. She was the daughter of a successful businessman at the time, but unfortunately her father was also Michael's direct competition. Michael managed to push him out of the business and into bankruptcy and finally caused his opponent to die of a brain seizure. Julie's mother ended up with nothing but debts and a young daughter she didn't really want. Mom ran to help her, lent her money, and volunteered to take care of Julie, while Julie's mother found a way to get her life back together. Weeks became months, then years, but her mother never came back to claim her. I'd hear Julie crying in those early days of moving in with us in the small bedroom Mom arranged for her despite Michael's orders to get rid of her for good. As promised, Mom took good care of her and treated her as if she were one of her own kids. Mom had so much love to give, I can't bear the thought of being deprived of it. In return, Julie showed Mom unconditional respect and loyalty and stood by her no matter what, even when the day came that she had to pay her debt to Michael. I clearly remember how her eyes sparkled and her face beamed that morning during breakfast. Without Michael around, our breakfasts were magnificent. Mom would cook delicious pastries and eggs for us, and we'd eat and laugh to no end. Michael came in and told Mom he had to take Julie to a doctor's appointment. Mom looked concerned and tried her best to keep Julie safe from Michael's twisted plans. When the day was over and Michael brought Julie back, her liveliness had vanished, and the sparkle in her eyes had perished. Her cry-filled nights returned, and she never returned to being that hopeful girl she once had been. My appetite diminishes on the spot, but I eat 2 more eggs out of courtesy, all the while keeping my eyes fixed on my plate so Julie won't notice the change in my mood. This was wonderful. I compliment her and take my dish to the sink. Thanks for having me over, I say, and quickly head for the door before she can distract me. I'll text you the information about your dates, she reminds me while standing by the door as I stroll to the elevator. Thanks. See you at the party? Yeah. All right. That wraps up episode 5. Imagining that. An adult storytelling show. I hope you enjoyed these 2 chapters. And today being Valentine's Day, I just want to let you guys know I'm going to be back in later this evening with a special presentation. We're going to get started on a new read as we're wrapping up Pleasure Extraordinaire. So please check out the new read that's coming this evening. It's a really enjoyable read. I've read it before and I have no problem reading it again. It's a pretty short read too, so we should be able to get through it fairly swiftly. So until then, have a great day and see you next time.